Hey guys, we're gonna do 15-16-3 today. Last week we focused on these words, and it was mainly just being able to identify and find all of these geometry terms, which are everywhere. They're all around us, as I was able to prove last week. But this week we're going to focus on just angles. Okay. Now it's gonna start getting a little harder because last week was just vocabulary. Now we're actually gonna have to do some math. Okay. So we're focusing on angles. Now, you have to remember that an angle is made up of two rays. Okay? Remember, a ray is a part of a line with one endpoint. So if I were to do this, here's my ray, here's my endpoint, and then here's the part that keeps going. Okay? So an angle is made up of two rays. Okay? So if I were to make an angle right now, right here, okay? So my hand on the top keeps going, and then this one keeps going, and my ray, the endpoints where the ray meet would be right here, okay? So remember, every angle also has a name. It has 3 letters, okay? So you'll be naming your angles too. But before we do any of that, we have to go over division because division is going to be a part of today's lesson, okay? So I know most of you are pretty good and you probably remember, but let's just do a refresher for those of us who might not remember. Okay, so we have our steps to help us through it: dad, mom, sister, brother, and rover. Okay, that means division, multiplication, subtract, bring down, and repeat. Okay, so first we're going to do this one right here. We're going to do 112 divided by 2. So we're going to look at 2 and see how many groups of 2 can go into 1. None, because 2 is bigger than 1. So we can't do that. So instead we're going to look at this as an 11. So how many groups of 2 can go into 11? What times 2 will get us close to 11 without going over? 6, right? 6. 5, right? 2 times 5. Okay, so we divided. Now 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, then we're going to subtract. Let me move this line so it doesn't confuse you. 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. And then we subtracted. Now we're going to bring down. We're going to bring down. Okay, now we get to repeat. So how many groups of 2 can I put into 12? What times 2 will get us close to 12 without going over? See, if 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 6 is 12, right? So we'll put 6 here, repeat it, and then we always check it. 2 times 6 is 12, and we have no remainder. So our answer is 56, okay? Now, I'm going to erase this. I'm going to have you guys do this one on your own. So stop the video and solve this one. Go. Okay, by now you should have stopped the video and solved this one. I'm sure some of you didn't, so I will go ahead and solve it. Those of you who did stop the video, go ahead and check your answer with me. 5 groups of 5. How many groups of 5 can go into 3? None, because 5 is bigger than 3. So we can't do that. We have to look at this as a 36. How many groups of 5 can go into 36 without going over? Let's check. What's 5 times 6? 30. Can we get closer? 5 times 7 is 35. About 5 times 8? That's 40. That goes over. So it has to be 7. Okay, so I divided. Now I'm going to multiply. 5 times 7 is 35. And now I'm going to subtract. 6 minus 5 is 1. 3 minus 3 is 0. And then I'm going to bring down my 0 to make 10. Now I get to repeat. 5 goes into 10 how many times? How many groups of 5 go into 10? 5 times 2 is 10. So we'll put the 2 up here. So we repeat it. Now we check. 5 times 2 is 10. And I get 0 remainder. So our answer is 72. Okay? Now, that's long division. You also need to remember basic fact. Okay? Now, basic fact is super easy if you know your multiplication tables. If you don't know your multiplication tables, well, you're at home, go on Google and look up a multiplication chart so that way it can help you. Okay? But let's look at basic fact. In order to be able to do basic fact, you have to be able to pull out the basic fact, identify what the basic fact is, and then understand your multiplication table to be able to find it. Okay, so this ends in a 0. That's my first big clue. Okay, it ends in a 0. So that tells me, hey, can I look at the first two numbers and make it a basic fact? Let's see. You should, those of you who know your multiplication tables, you should already be able to identify, wait, 35 and 7. There's a relationship there. 35 and 7. Well, 35 and 7. Well, I know that 7 times what gives me 35? 5, right? So you know 35 divided by 7 is equal to 5, and then what do we do with our 0? We bring it over, right? So our answer is 50. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, our clue is that this ends in a 0. So let's see, hey, can I look at this number and pull a basic fact? Can. 64 divided by 8. You can think about it as what times 8 gives us 64? 8. And then what do we do with the 0? We bring it over. Okay, so that's basic fact. So we went over long division and basic fact division. Okay, so now we're going to get into the lesson. Fractions are also going to come back and haunt us a little bit in this lesson. Okay, so last week I was telling you, I know it's really far, but my computer's charging, so I can't take it closer. Last week I told you that a right angle has two rays that form to make a square angle. And I was saying that that angle measured 90 degrees. Okay, so I kept saying that a right angle was equal to 90 degrees. Okay, I know some of you are thinking, Miss Espy, degrees are usually used to measure how hot or how cold it is outside. Yes, that's true. But degrees is also used to measure angles. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now that angles come from circles. Okay, so it's not going to be perfect, but we have a circle. Okay, and every circle has an invisible center point. Okay, now this is an angle right here. Let's draw another one. This is an angle right here. Okay, so I'm going to do this over. Most of the time when we see angles, we don't see that circle. Okay, that circle really isn't there. But when we're working on angle measures, we use, at least when we first start working with angles, we use circles to help us understand. Okay, so really when we see angles, we don't see that circle. We just see that part, right? Okay, so now that you understand that angles are pulled out circles, I'm going to tell you that one circle is equal to 360 degrees. Okay, so every circle, whether it's this small or whether it's this size, they all equal 360 degrees, okay? All inside, okay? 360 degrees. Now, 360 degrees, that's 360 parts in here. So if I wanted to draw an angle that measured 1 out of 360, it would be like this small, okay? Now, 1 angle out of 360. 1 angle out of 360. Okay, so remember this stuff. Okay, I'm going to erase it. Okay, let's do this. I have a fraction bar, right? If one of them is colored, how would I write this fraction? 1/3, right? Remember that this is known as a unit fraction, okay? Anything that has a 1 in the numerator is known as a unit fraction. A unit fraction is one equal part of a whole, okay? So 1 out of 360. So there's 360 degrees in here, and I pulled 1 out of 360. This is a unit, but instead of a unit fraction, it's going to be called a unit angle. Okay? So we know 1 out of 360, when we're working with angles, is known as a unit angle. We know that units, we know that the angles of a circle are measured in degrees. And when we want to find the measure of this angle, we call it the angle measure. Oops, I forgot my arrows because remember, they're rays, okay? So those are 3 words that we need to know right now, okay? So a unit angle, that means that it's 1 part of 360. We have degree, okay, or degrees, and that is how we measure the angles. Okay, so instead of using inches or yards or feet or kilometers, okay, when we're talking about angles, we measure them in degrees, okay? And then when we're talking about the actual measure of an angle, it's called an angle measure, okay? So, moving on. We have a few circles here, okay? I'm going to do this. I don't want to mess up the other circles, so it's not going to be perfect. Okay, I just broke that circle up. Using fractions, what did I break the circle up into? 1, 2, 3, 4. Broke it up into 4 parts, right? So I broke that circle up into fourths, okay? Now, I'm going to erase this right here. Okay. So if I'm looking at 1/4 of the circle, 1/4, what kind of angle does that form? It's a square angle, right? So it's 90 degrees. So how many 90-degree angles are there in one circle? 4, right? There was 1, 2, 3, 4. All of these angles have square corners, okay? Now, I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I'm going to make my center point. Okay, I made my center point. Okay, so we have fourths, and we know that each fourth is equal to 90 degrees. So one circle has 4 90-degree angles, 4 right angles. I'm going to do the same thing that I did earlier. Going to remove this, make my square angle. I know that this is 90 degrees. Okay? What if I were to draw this back in? It's a little crooked. Toot, toot, toot. Okay? We have something else over here. What is that? It's still 90 degrees, right? 90 degrees. Okay? So I have one here and one here. Now I'm going to do something. Yoink. I'm going to take away that right angle box. Okay? So before I had 2 90-degree angles. Okay? Now I remove that middle line. What does this look like now? We went over it before. Over there was one of our words. Right? Now it looks like a straight angle, right? This right here is a straight angle. So what can we say about straight angles looking here? Before, when it was like this, it was 2 right angles, right? This side measured 90 degrees and this side measured 90 degrees. But I took that away and now it turned into a straight angle. What can we say about the measure of a straight angle? All straight angles are equal to 90 times 2, or 90 plus 90, 2 times 0, 2 times 9. All straight angles are equal to 180. Okay? So one circle has 4 90-degree angles. Okay? So 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 would equal 360 degrees. Okay? If I cut the circle in half, I technically have 2 right angles in there. So 90 degrees plus 90 degrees, or 90 times 2 is equal to 180 degrees. So if this right here is measures 180 degrees, what about this part down here? It still measures 180 degrees. So I have 2 half circles. Let's erase this. I have 2 half circles. 1, 2. So a circle has 2 180-degree angles. Okay? So 360, if I divide it into 4 parts, each part is equal to 90. Okay? So let's write that down right here. 360 divided by 4 is equal to 90 degrees. Remember, because a whole circle is equal to 360. So we divide it into 4 equal parts, I get 90 degrees. This circle is divided into 2 equal parts. What math sentence would I do for this one? Remember, the whole circle is equal to 360. So I would write 360 divided by how many parts? 2, right? And that equals to 180 degrees. Okay? So, can I break my circle up into anything? Yeah, I can break my circle up into whatever parts I want. So let's say I wanted to break my circle up into 6 equal parts. So I'm going to do this. Here's my middle part. Okay, it's not exactly equal, but here you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I broke my whole circle up into 6 equal parts. Okay, what does my whole circle measure? 360 degrees, right? So what if I wanted to find out how much each part measured? What would I do? Look here, what did I do here? And what did I do here? I took the amount of degrees that I have in a circle, so my total degree is 360, and I divided it into however many parts I had in my circle. So here I divided it into 4 equal parts. Here I divided it into 2 equal parts, and here I'm going to divide it 6 equal parts. So this is where the division comes into play. Okay, so here I can recognize that this is basic fact. Okay, it has a 0, and I know that 36 and 6 are compatible numbers. So 36 divided by 6, or you can think of it as what times 6 will give us 36? 6, and then we bring this 0 over. So we know that each of these angles is equal to 60 degrees, right? Oh, my battery's running low. I don't know why it's not charging. 1 second. There you go, it's charging now. Okay, so now we're going to do some practice problems. So, I have 2 circles here. Okay, so going to break it up into a certain amount of parts. Okay. Okay, like I said, it's not perfect, but I want you to look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I didn't do enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just gonna make one here. 8. Okay, so they're definitely not equal. Okay, let's just pretend they're equal. Okay, so how many parts did I break it up into? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I have 9 parts. I want to know how much one of the parts measures. So any of these angles, because remember they're equal, even though they don't look equal in my drawing, they are equal. How much does one angle measure? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I have one angle out of 9. That's how many I had, right? Okay? Let's think of this as equivalent fractions. How much do all the angles measure together? Do you remember from the last part? One circle is equal to 360 degrees. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out this part right here. Okay, I don't know that part. That's my unknown. Okay, so when we think about it as equivalent fractions, what times 9 will get us close to 36? Can we think of it as a basic fact? We can, right? Okay, so we're going to take these two numbers. We're going to 360. I broke it up into 9 equal parts. And I said I can look at it as a basic fact. Let's see, there's a 0. And do 36 and 9 work together? Yes, they do. Okay, so 36 divided by 9 is, or 9 times what will give us 36? 4, right? And then we bring over this guy. Okay, so each of these angles measures 40 degrees. Okay, now let's do this other one. Yeah, let's do that one. So I'm going to break up the circle again. This time I'm going to break it up into 8 parts. Okay, so this one will be easier to break up because it's an even number. Okay, so here's my circle. It's broken up into 8 parts. Okay. I want to know how much one of the angles measures. Does it matter which one? Nope, because they all measure the same. But I'm going to highlight one. Okay, I want to know how much this angle measures. Okay, so I'm going to write it like this again. I know that I have 1 out of 8 parts. Okay, so I have 1 angle out of 8. I know that my entire thing is equal to 360. So I need to figure out how much this is out of the 360. Okay, so I have 1/8 is equal to something out of 360. Okay, so I'm going to look at my basic facts. 36 and 8. Are 36 and 8 compatible? What times 8 will give you 36? Nothing, right? So 36 and 8 are not compatible. So what do you think I need to do? I can't divide using basic fact. I have to divide using long division. Okay, so I'm going to erase this because I don't have space. So I'm going to do 360 divided by 8. Okay, 8 goes into 3. It can't. It's too big. So we have to look at this as a 36. 8 goes into 36. How many times? 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. So it has to be 4. Okay, so we divided. Now it's mom. 8 times 4 is 32. We did mom. Now we do sister. 36 minus 32 is equal to 4. Now we do brother. We're going to bring them down at 40. And then we're going to repeat. 8 goes into 40. How many times? 5 times. And then we check. 8 times 5 is 40. We get 0. So each one of these angles is equal to 45 degrees. Okay? So that's basically what you're doing. Your work is going to tell you a circle is cut up into however many parts, and you're going to take that amount of parts and you're going to divide it by the total amount in a circle. So there's 360 degrees in a circle. However many parts your circle is cut up into, you're going to divide it by that number. So like this one was cut up into 8 parts, but I know that the entire circle has 360 degrees. So 360 divided by 8, that means each angle is going to have a measure of 45 degrees. Okay, we're not done. Okay. Then you might have some problems that involve a clock. Okay? So you have to understand that if I'm looking at this like an angle, so I'll draw angles for you. Here's my center point. Here you go. Okay. Here's my clock. When I look at a clock, it is technically broken up into 12 parts, right? 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 parts, okay? But it can also be broken up into 60 parts. Why? Okay, so this clock has 12 numbers on it, so it's broken up into 12 equal angles. But I just said that a clock technically also has 60 parts it could be cut into. Why? Give you a hint if you don't know right now. How many minutes are in a clock? 60 minutes, right? So if I had the time, I would also sit here and cut it into those 60 minutes, okay? But I'm not going to do that right now. So we can either write a clock as one angle out of 12, or we can write one angle out of 60, okay? So the reason I'm showing you this is because you might get a problem that looks like this. Okay, I'm going to erase the inside that I drew for you so that you can see it better. Okay, so ignore any orange that you see left. So in the book, there's a problem that looks like this. It shows that it's 4 o'clock. So okay, it shows that. Here are my rays. Here's the endpoint that they share in common. Here's one ray. Here's another ray. And it says here that I need to find the measure of this angle. Okay? I need to find the measure of this angle. There are 2 ways that you can go about it. Okay? I need my pink one. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to make that angle thing that I did earlier. Okay. I broke it up into 12 parts again, but we're still focusing on this angle right here. Okay. So if I'm focusing on this angle, I'm going to make it longer so that you guys can see it easier. If I'm focusing on this angle right here, all I need to do is find one of the parts in there, okay? So this big angle has 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, okay? I need to find one of them, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12, so I need to figure out how much one of them measures. So I'm going to do my 12 equal to 360 degrees, and I don't know that part, okay? So I need to divide 360 by 12. Okay, can I use basic fact to figure it out? See, there's a 0, but now let's see, are 36 and 12 compatible numbers? 36 divided by 12 is equal to, or if you can't think of it like that, what times 12 will give you 36? 3, right? And then you bring this 0 over. So each of these angles measures 30 degrees. So 30 degrees, 30 degrees, 30 degrees, 30 degrees. What do you think I need to do to figure out this entire thing? I can either add 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30, or I can do 30 times 4. So that's 0. So that means that this big old angle right here is equal to 120 degrees. Okay? And that's today's lesson. So go have fun doing your quick check. Bye.